wonderful opening remarks. We'll continue without wasting more time. We would call upon the representative of the Honorable Minister of Environment of the Gambia, who is in the passing of Mr. Bubu Jallow, to deliver a statement on behalf of the Honorable Minister of the Environment, Mrs. Rohit John Manjang. Thank you very much. Mr. Jallow, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, moderator. Thank you very much. I am Bubu Pate Jallow. I'm the advisor to the Honorable Minister and to the Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources, a ministry that I also served in the past as permanent secretary before my retirement in 2009. So I'm old. I will so recognize Her Excellency Madame Ransia Diab, who is the chairperson, the vice chair of KAIRACLO. Professor Yafa, Deputy Vice Chancellor and the Director of WASCAL, the representative of the UN system, unfortunately a Serere, Mr. Idrissa Mas Job, he's around, President of GCCI, representatives of government, the private sector and non-state actors, and the media. I also wish to recognize our elder, the former Vice President, Honorable Usainu Dabo. I don't think we met in Amity School, but we are all coming from Amity School. Yes, I left in 1968. I am representing the Honorable Minister, Honorable Rohit John Manjang, who is currently in the field, so she could not attend, and she asked me to represent, and I have a statement she made that I am going to read to you here. The Honorable Minister said it is with great pleasure and honor that she is invited to participate in this auspicious event and to deliver the remarks on a topic that is so dear to her and to her office and to the whole ministry. The Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources, as we all know, is responsible for waste management in the Gambia, in close collaboration with the councils. Regulation is provided through the National Environment Management Act, the regulation on waste management, and also the Waste Management Bill 2007 and the Anti-Littering Regulation 2008. Now, under the climate change portfolio, we have the second nationally determined contribution of the Gambia, and in that, urban and peri-urban solid waste generation is projected at 400,000 tons per day. And when you combine that with wastewater discharge into the coastal waters for Banjul and tourism area, you will have another 5,000 cubic meters of wastewater per day. the majority of waste generated in the Gambia is disposed at informal dump sites. In this country, we don't have what we call what is the name again? We don't have waste generation or waste dump sites where we have waste management properly done. It is only dump sites where people just go and dump. And everything that we generate in this country is dumped in those dump sites. And key among those is the dump site at Bakote, which is now almost full. And we realize that most of what is dumped there is either burnt or allowed to rot. And whether it is burnt or it rots, they all emit greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. When you burn the waste, you have emission of carbon dioxide, carbon, and also when you allow it to rot, you emit methane. Now, all of these contribute to greenhouse gas emissions and greenhouse gas effect and global warming. But the greatest amount of methane generated in the landfills or dump sites is larger. And if you have 1 ton of methane emitted into the atmosphere, it does 28 times more damage than when you emit 1 ton of carbon dioxide. So you see how serious it is when we have a lot of methane being emitted from waste management, because some of the waste that we generate, even if we take them to the dump site, they rot, but most of them are also left in the gutters, in the streams, around the mangroves, so they rot there. So we are emitting a lot of methane from the waste sector. But the greatest methane generation is also coming from agriculture, and that is in rice cultivation, especially flooded rice. So I think we should move away from doing a lot of flooded rice cultivation and go into Narika, where maybe, of course, one old man did tell me, okay, Narika is successful, uplands, but it must be also cultivated at a place where at least it will smell mud, which means, and the Tiankas and the Badibunkas are accusing one another, they will say they take Narika on top of the hills. So I don't know who my wife is from Kiang, my mother is from Badibu, so I don't know who is right. But methane is very dangerous and it comes from waste management. So unless we manage our waste properly, while we are just continuing to generate heat in the atmosphere. Okay, so in this country, the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources, through the NDC, has identified some activities that will contribute to reduction of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And some of those, there is this waste management activity that is in the NDC, and it is going to reduce emissions of methane, particularly in very, very, very dramatically, and we are going to see that some of that is implemented by the councils and other civil society organizations. So the integrated waste management mitigation measures, as it is known, will support Gambia's efforts in the avoidance of emissions of 405 gigagrams of CO2 equivalent by 2025, and that is about 497 gigagrams CO2 by 2030. That is the target that this country has, is included in that mitigation measure, so that by those dates we are going to reduce methane emissions from the waste sector by that amount. You must remember the NDC of the Gambia is really voted as one of the best NDC that is going to lead this country and also globally to 1.5. And that one has been acclaimed globally. The Gambia's NDC is a very good NDC. And we are going to launch that NDC by next month. Now, under the same strategy, sewage system is improved and equipped with wastewater treatment facilities that capture and use the biogas. We also, existing landfills are covered, and the landfill gas methane is also captured. These activities also aim to avoid pollution of groundwater and surface water and contribute to the objective of existing rural water supply strategies, and also that reduces pollution into the groundwater, because now a lot of the wastewater through the pit latrines and everything find their way into the groundwater. And if we are able to implement this activity and make sure that most of the sewage water passes through the sewage, which will be equipped and properly managed, then we will not have a lot of pollution of the groundwater from the sewage. Now, it is not only the government that is involved in waste management. There are other partners that are involved in waste management, especially the councils, notably the Carnegie Municipal Council and also the Banjul City Council. This we are aware that they are very much involved in the waste management. There are the Mbalit projects and so on. Other partners in the waste management in the Gambia include Waste Aid. Waste Aid is a civil society organization, and they have programs where they collect waste in the greater Banjul area here. They sort the waste, and what they do is the waste that is degradable, they take it to the gardens, and then they train the women in composting, so that the non-degradable material is removed. Only the degradable material is composted, so that the women can use that manure in their gardens. And now a lot of the women have got that experience. Now, the minister also mentioned other greenhouse gas mitigation measures, in not only the integrated waste management and what it is doing, but other greenhouse gas mitigation measures that have been identified in the Gambia include rural electrification. I think if we go rural electrification, then we will do a lot of reduction of emissions, because of we will be abandoning diesel generators and going rural. And in that way, we are able to meet our commitment as a country in the implementation of the Paris Agreement, because the electrification from PVs will displace diesel fuel, which is a very dirty fuel that is generating a lot of greenhouse gases. We also have greenhouse gas reduction through the use of improved cook stoves, and we also have carbon sequestration through reforestation and protection of existing forests. My minister is right now in a place where she is trying to see how best she can stop communities from selling most of the land in the community forest. She is right now in the field with the permanent secretary, the deputy permanent secretary, and so on, because sadly there are a lot of lands that are being sold illegally, and these are lands that were identified as community forests for the past 10, 20 years. But now most of the people are turning back to the land because these estate agents come to them and try to get them sell this land and so on. So the minister and the team are right now there. That's why I have come to represent her and deliver this. Another large-scale mitigation measure is the introduction of LPG to decrease fuel consumption. I think if we, as a country, go LPG in most of the in fact the whole of the greater Banjul area, we will cut off the supply of charcoal and wood from Basse, from Kiang, from Jara, and so on. Because it is us here who are really demanding a lot of charcoal and wood from the provinces. But if we try at the beginning, we start with using LPG full scale, then we will cut off that and we will save our forest, we will save the climate. I don't know if you know, but a tree, forget about the shade and everything, will always pump a lot of greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere. Instead of pumping it up, they will absorb it from the atmosphere and store it in the plants. But if you cut the plant, then you are allowing carbon dioxide to stay into the atmosphere and so on. Another thing, useful use of the tree is, if you cut one tree, I always tell people this, if you want to cut tree and that tree has a weight of about 10 tons, you are contributing to reducing 10 tons of water getting into the atmosphere, which means you are reducing the amount of rainfall that will come back from the atmosphere to the surface. So if there is anybody here who is in the habit of cutting a tree, you should know that you are contributing to drying of this country, drying of the atmosphere. Because every tree that you cut, you are reducing the amount of water that is pumped into the atmosphere. Now, also another mitigation measure is integrated crop and livestock farming, utilizing straw from rice and so on, generating livestock feed, and then that those who have ranches, okay, you can continue with your ranches, but try to reduce the number of animals by intensifying the feeding, especially giving a lot of good feed to the animal so that the animal can produce more. For those of us who are fullers, really, we want to see the large number of cows, the large number of cattle, even though if they may be lean and hungry, but we want to see them. But if you do a lot of feed intensification, one cow can produce about 5 times what another hungry cow or sheep can produce. Now, then managing the multi-product forests and so on. We have now seen that a lot of the communities are interested in going back to the forest not to destroy it, but some communities are there to harvest what is in the forest. And then we try to encourage them to go back there. By managing the forest, they can get honey, they can get teas, they can get a lot of materials from cashews and so on, and then they will keep the forest because they are now able to get livelihoods from the forest itself. And it is only through that, and I hope Ramsey and group will also work towards that, and then make sure that you support the communities to maintain the forest, but give them some livelihood. You cannot ask somebody to maintain the forest, just going there, sitting there, looking at the tree, and you don't give them something from which they can harvest the value of the trees and the grasses and so on. So on that note, I am finishing by the last statement of the minister, where she is employing the private sector. And I understand the GCCI representative is here. The GCCI has been represented in almost all climate change projects in this country. I am aware of that. And we are doing that because we want to bring in the private sector in climate change. Waste management in this country, we must have the private sector come in. Not only in waste management, but in most of the mitigation actions, most of the activities that will reduce emissions, we have to get the private sector to come in. It is not central government that will be successful in doing these things. It is the private sector and the civil society organizations. And thank you, Ramsey and team, for being there for your group and also for the non-state actors. Thank you very much. Thank you. No, not the fullers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bubu Pate Jallo, for representing the Honorable Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Mrs. John Manjang. We thank you for highlighting all the policy and legislative interventions of the government, and also the plans to address the menace of climate change and indiscriminate waste that is prevalent in our country. So we are very happy that you are here representing the Minister and the Ministry of Environment, and we look forward to partnering in addressing the challenges of waste management in this country. Without wasting more time, I would move on to the next speaker, the keynote address by the President of the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Idrissa Masjob, who is unavoidably absent, but at the same time, he is ably represented by another distinguished Gambian in the passing of Mr. James Bahum, who would give us a private sector perspective to this very important topic of waste management and transformation in the Gambia. You're welcome, Mr. Bahum.
Good morning. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I recognize the presence of some of our elders here, and I'll take this quick opportunity to extend warm greetings to the Honorable, the Excellencies, Mr. Dabo, the former Vice President of the Gambia. I also recognize Mr. Memba Tambedu, a celebrated broadcaster. And as I was just telling him, that I used to enjoy his news bulletins and his manner of presentation was very captivating for a young boy who lived in Banjul but had people and family members who worked at the Radio Gambia at the very early stages. Tijan Valentine is my brother, and my dad, Joseph Bahum, Gorgi Bahum, worked at the Radio Gambia for many years. So I was a fan, as it were. I recognize Ramsey. It's been a while. And an opportunity to say a big thank you to you for all the work you've done for Gambia over a period that was very difficult for all of us. I also recognize my very own sister, Miss Zaigilen. When we were younger, we had a club called the Dynamites. We were going all over the place, exploding, as it were. But she was one of our elders. Whenever we organized parties, they would do the cooking. But mostly she would invite us to her house on a special Sunday or Saturday for super kanja. And those were good days. To all of you present here today, I am here represented by, my name is James Bahum, as I was introduced. And I am here to represent Mr. Idrissa Mas Joe, who is, on the one hand, my boss at M Holding, which is a company he started many years ago and still runs very successfully. You may have come across some new installations, some petrol stations along the way with the name Logix. That is his original idea, and right now he's implementing it with great success and very little fanfare, as it were, because that's his way of doing things. But also, as president of the Chamber of Commerce, he asked me to step in and wear his very big shoes, which I hope I could fill today, at least for this very short period of time. Now, two very important topics coincided, and I can say both of those are dear to my heart: the environment, but also Sadauda. However, today is a seminal day in our history, in our political evolution. The 24th day of April, 1974. Sorry, my apologies. 1970. We gained the Republican status, and republicanism is the elegant part of democracy, and that's why we call it Republican elegance, in the way government behaves, in the way they react to people's aspirations, and so forth and so on. That's another topic that we could talk about on another day. But these two coincide to give me an opportunity to express my thoughts, but also to reflect Mr. Job's own perspective about these two issues. Before I go further, let me just give you a very short anecdote about the Banjul Declaration. In 1985, I traveled to the United Kingdom to do my Duke of Edinburgh Gold Award Expedition Award. And the coordinator of the Duke of Edinburgh Awards, a Commander David Newing, invited us to his office. The moment I entered the office, the first thing I saw was this declaration right at the back of his chair and his desk. So not only has this had an early introduction, the declaration, into the global discourse on climate change and the environment, but it continues to have reverberations and ripples over the years. So Sir Dawda, amongst all his peers, was a visionary who saw, and as a man of the field working in veterinary medicine, knew that our environment was experiencing gradual degradation as early as 1977. Today, he has been proven correct, and that his fears, some of which have occurred already, of the consequences of climate change on societies and communities around the world, have been dilated on by some of my colleagues at the high table. What I want to speak about today, and this is Mr. Job's perspective, is that there is hardly an area of the economy where the private sector can be left out. It means the private sector, like said in the National Development Plan, is the engine of development, is the creator of jobs, is the introduction of innovative ideas, and one of which is this particular issue on which I am supposed to be speaking on, which is waste to energy and the circular economy. Our environment has experienced a lot of devastation, mostly man-made, and it therefore goes to the heart of the question: what do we do when people have become so accustomed to destroying their own environment, whether wittingly or unwittingly? We continue to practice certain habits that contribute to the destruction and the degradation of the environment. But today we have one of the most pernicious pollutants to the environment is the plastic bottles. Many initiatives have been taken to remove plastic from the supply chain, but it continues to harm our environment. New ideas have emerged, however, to create opportunities for using waste, transforming it into energy, clean energy mostly. And that is where I believe the private sector must work with government to build not only the necessary infrastructure, the processing plants, the decomposition, the use of both wet and dry pollutants to create electricity, to create heat, to help to advance our aspirations for greater industrialization, and so forth and so on. Some of the benefits of this is that the opportunity only to create jobs, which is a critical question that we have to answer. Create jobs for young people who are not in education, not in training, not in employment, And these people need to be skilled up so that they can participate in the economy, in their own sectors, different sectors, enlarge the economy, improve the chances and opportunities for industrialization by creating an individual or transforming them into agents of change and development so that the young people can play their rightful part in development. It also helps the Gambian economy, where we have processing plants that transform waste into energy. We train people around those fields. The University of the Gambia, Professor Yafa and his great endeavors can look at how to prepare training for the vast majority of young people who remain idle, mainly not as a result of their own fault, but because the economy is shrinking and opportunities for job creation are not as good. So we hope that with the collaboration of government, creating the right environment, creating the conducive environment for a partnership based on the public, the private, to come together, and in fact the third sector, civil society organizations, come together to formulate policies that would bring these aspirations to reality. Sometimes you hear people talk about, oh, by now Gambia should be fully self-sufficient in rice, some of our major commodities, and that we shouldn't be importing rice, talk about import substitution, and so forth and so on. In adopting new technologies and innovations, we are able to create and support this process of the circular economy. It is not everything that we use we discard and forget about it. There is energy in most of the stuff that we throw away. How to put it into use, better use that will help societies and communities, is what the Gambians, the private, the public, the third sector should come together to figure out. I know there are several other economic benefits that will flow from such a collaboration, but also there are very many interests and benefits that communities and societies can have as a result of having an ambitious waste to energy program and create and bring energy and benefits to the people who need it most. So I thank you without going on and on and on. I should have warned that sometimes it's hard to stop when we start on a topic that you enjoy so much. But thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. James Bahum, for giving us a private sector perspective of waste management and transformation in the Gambia. There are opportunities, lots of opportunities, if we come together and partner to ensure that we have a sustainable waste management strategy for this country, and also the transformation of that waste would create employment opportunities. It will generate income for the individual and the state. So once again, thank you very much. We look forward to having a PPP, public-private partnership in this endeavor. And KAIRACLO would be at the forefront to work with the Chamber of Commerce and Industry and individual businesses to ensure that we mainstream the issues of conservation into waste management. Thank you very much once again. and extend our appreciation to Mr. Job. Before I call upon the next speaker, allow me also to recognize a distinguished Gambian. If I don't say it now, I would be in trouble, although he's my brother. I want to recognize Pa Sarr, Mr. Pa Sarr. Mr. Pa Sarr is a quiet gentleman. And for those who don't know, especially the younger generations, because we tend to focus more on the IT as opposed to the personal touch, Mr. Pa Sarr was the former executive director of the National Environment Agency of the Gambia. And this is a gentleman who has over 3 to 4 decades of experience in environmental management in the Gambia, in Sweden, in Liberia, and in other African countries, and contributed immensely to some of the current environment policies that this country is implementing. Pa Sarr, you are most welcome, and continue the good work. He's a very good advocate of environmental issues in this country, because I share a number of platforms with him. Thank you very much. I have the singular honor and pleasure to invite my boss, no other person than Her Excellency Ramzia Diab Ghanim, to come forward to deliver the vote of thanks. She is the Vice Chairman of KAIRACLO, a very dynamic force, a very patriotic Gambian, somebody who works tirelessly to make sure that we enjoy the benefits of good governance. We enjoy investment opportunities. Whilst in the diplomatic services abroad in Asia, she initiated a lot of good PPPs, private-public interventions in this country. So, Madam, we appreciate you. We love you. You have the floor.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Obi, for those touching statements. Much appreciated. I am humbled. Good morning to the panel. Good morning to, I first of all want to acknowledge the presence of His Excellency, the former Vice President of the Gambia, Mr. Usainu Dabo, who is also a dear uncle to me. I recognize the presence of Mr. Buba Pate, also Mr. Bahum. It's been a while, thank you very much, and also the representative of the UN. And I thank also the Board of Trustees, the Chairman and Board of Trustees of KAIRACLO, for their relentless effort in order to make sure that Sir Dauda's legacy continues. This is the Banjul Declaration is something that is very close to our hearts, and we hope, as they said, that this venture will continue. This is just the beginning, and in future we are going to have the activities that we will continue on Sir Dauda's legacy. Also, we have not yet talked about the leadership of Sir Dauda, which will be coming in due course. I thank everybody for coming, and we hope that this event will improve as time goes on. We have learned a lot today, and especially the younger generation. I'm sure you've learned a lot about what we are all about, what Sir Dauda's legacy is, and we thank the government for the partnership as well, and the private sector. The private sector involvement is very important to us. Thank you very much for everyone coming to this event today. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Excellency Ramzia Diab, for that vote of thanks. We are making good progress. We would want to have a group photograph first, because some people want to take leave of us, but we think we should have the group photograph so that we can capture everybody present here, because this is a very important event and we have to record it for posterity. And after the group photograph, we'll have an opportunity for coffee, tea break to interact. And once we go through that, after 15-20 minutes, we would want to embark on the plenary discussions. For the plenary discussions, first we'll have the presentation. After the presentation, we'll have the discussion. And for the thematic papers, for the presentations, we'll have, hopefully, 3 presentations on waste composition and generation in the Gambia by the National Environment Agency. I learned that the Deputy Director is here. Waste collection and disposal, the KMC experience. This is also very important. They have a waste management program called the Mbalit program, and it's quite interesting. So we want to see some of the best practices that we can use for possible replication across the length and breadth of the Gambia. Then the third presenter would talk on waste transformation. Here we are looking at how to turn waste into riches and the opportunities available for recycling, reuse of waste products in this country. Here the emphasis will be on the circular economy by an official of the Ministry of Environment, and after that we'll follow up with a lunch break and a discussion, an open discussion session. So that's the agenda for the day. We also would like to take the opportunity to thank the press, the Gambian press, print, television, online media, all of you, young brothers and sisters. You see them doing an excellent job in ensuring that we enjoy the benefits of environmental sustainability. We need to educate, we need to inform our people. So awareness raising is a must when it comes to environment management. And if we are to mainstream the wonderful ideals of Sir Dawda when it comes to the Banjul Declaration on Conservation, we need to partner with the press. So once again, we want to thank you for coming, and we hope that you will use the information from this symposium to reach out to as many Gambians as possible, not just in the print media, but through the FM stations, the television stations, the social media, which is very vibrant, so that all of us can be stakeholders in the transformation of the environment of our country, especially when it comes to waste management. And also I want to thank you on behalf of the KAIRACLO Board of Trustees for your attendance yesterday at the press conference, which was the first event for the centenary year of our dear late President, Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara. Thank you very much. So we can have a break for photograph. Honorable Bemba, where do we have the photograph? Okay, we can have it outside. Yes, my professor has instructed me, the student, that we have it outside. Prof.
Suggested.
Consider
Thank
it
you,
done.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. So have it here? Okay. All right, that's what we suggested.
Okay.
All right. So do we move this here temporarily or what? Yeah, some concern. Let you guys sit down here. Chair, I think you guys can sit.
Yeah, but
Honorable, you can sit there.
runaway family member.
Runaway family member.